McKenna's whole fractal soliton of improbability concept, it just, you and I could probably do 3 whole shows on just that, and I know we're almost out of time here, and we've just kind of scratched this a bit, but it's this, I enjoy the concept. It's a weird way to put it, but I do. I enjoy talking about it, and on so many levels, because it's so it brings in so many like sci-fi ideas, but yet it's being presented as like, well, maybe this is how it really is, and I like this notion that this more advanced version of us, this alternate time stream that didn't get retarded, as you said, by the Christian epoch, this alternate time stream that just had science zoom ahead and is now so far ahead of us, they worked with dreams, really understood that dreams are so powerful, and there's things like we think of as Jungian psychology and shamanism, and really worked with that, and to such a degree that just discovered us. That's such an elegant notion, and that now they are working on technology to actually, now that they've discovered us, to bring us back together with them, because they're a little fearful of having us out here on our own any longer with our nuclear weapons and all.
Yeah, and with our fingers on the button.
Yeah. So that's just a really great and interesting concept, and ties in with so many mystical, occult, and UFO traditions. And it also has so many resonances with the ideas, the writings of Philip K. Dick. One of his big things that was in Valis, and maybe one of his other books, was this notion of this parallel reality, that it was our Earth, cruising along on an alternate history, that where the Roman Empire didn't fall, and that he actually, when he had his sort of crisis experience, his pink beam experience out here in Fullerton, California, was actually having visions of this sort of like Roman Empire superimposed over the everyday reality he was seeing out here in Orange County. And so, yeah, it's just, it doesn't appear, and McKenna doesn't say that he thought this all out, that he does say that it just came to him, but so amazing that it ties so many of these things together.
Yeah, and the skeptical view, it could just be, a brilliant mind who, in a flash of inspiration and drug-induced, euphoria, came up with a bunch of dots connected, into a cohesive story. That's all. In a lot of ways it is for you and I. It's a myth that we find interesting and that we, find some meaningfulness to, but that which, we don't necessarily accept as absolute truth in religion. And in fact, he did describe it as his shield for talking about it was, it's just a science fiction story I came up with, and that's a really nice foil. And so many of his ideas, he would, one time he would just say, look, this is the truth. I feel it. I experienced it. It's real. And other times he's like, well, you can take it or leave it. I'm not saying it's truth, but, it's one idea that seems to fit the data. And I like that a lot about him, and that's one of the things I think we like about a lot of our teachers, the leaders in these different fields, is that they do question their own assumptions, and they don't just necessarily subscribe to one interpretation, but yes, it's fascinating stuff, and his whole take on the UFO thing, I think, is still, every time I hear him speak, every time I read something of his, I just come back to the sense that he's really on to it. He really had a grasp of a postmodern appreciation of what UFO's part, the part they played in our history and our culture and perhaps our future.
Yeah, and he always referred to it in the singular, the UFO. And in this, that it was a concept, and again, not that it was real or fake, but it's this concept. I think he called it an idea complex, and with a lot to teach us. And right, okay, well, wow, we're just about out of time here. Why don't you, before we have to go here, Smiles Lewis, give us out some of your websites again, and any information you want, so people can contact you or find out more about what you're doing.
All right. Well, they can go to PSIOP Radio, PSIOPradio.com, and they can listen to all the archives of our past shows. We're up to like 80, I think our 87th, 88th episode now. And there's a couple of videos there of fans and myself have created of some kind of like best of clips from some of our shows where we have some images and a video montage. Of course, my main site's elfis.net, elfis.net. You mentioned anomaliemagazine.com, anomalyarchives.org, anomalyradio.com, and people can email me at web, W-E-B, at elfis.net. You know, we talk about so many different subjects, and there's just always so much going on, and it really does seem like that. I think both McKenna and Robert Anton Wilson talked about this idea of the doubling of knowledge and how we seem to be racing towards some omega point where, you know, our lives seem so hectic more and more, and we're subjected to so much change every day in the form of, you know, I can't believe I just read about such and such, you know, person passing away, or such and such discovery, or this horrible, scary thing going on in the environment, or this horrible, scary thing going on with the government. And yet, you know, humanity is still humanity. We still have so much potential for good and for liberty and freedom and for all. We can do it. You know, this whole idea that there's too many of us, well, maybe there are, but, you know, we haven't learned how to properly live in balance with nature. And that's really where McKenna was, what he was all about was, you know, finding that balance point where we can be stewards for nature and the planet and be more responsible and ethical with our development of our science and our technology for a better spiritual community.
All right, that's a great note to leave it on. Stephen Miles Lewis, thanks so much for being with us, and I'll give out a little bit more of that information before I close out here for contacting you or checking out your websites. So yeah, thanks again for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Yeah, so Stephen Miles Lewis, and yeah, PSIOP Radio, you can find him there. He's doing a great show there, really interesting stuff. Anomaly Magazine, Anomaly Radio, elfis.net, and yeah, the McKenna thing we were talking about. Smiles sent me an article, The Great Time Stream Bifurcation. I think you can Google that, and that has a short piece that McKenna wrote kind of summarizing what this is about. But a fascinating little concept, or grand concept, I should say, to have a little fun with. All right, so I'll remind you again, the opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of the KUCI staff or management or the UC Board of Regents. And if you want to email me, you can contact me at rglarson@kuci.org. And yeah, okay, this is Robert Larson saying I'll be talking to you next week. And stay tuned, as always, to 88.9 FM in Irvine, KUCI, and it's KUCI.org as well.